Yeah, I think one of the most interesting takeaways that our team found, I'll actually bring it back to stablecoins. One of the things that we touched on quite a bit is just the overall amount of stablecoins that have stayed within the ecosystem despite the bear market. At the very peak in 2022, I think in February, we had a total of about 124-ish billion dollars of stablecoin supply out there in the whole market. And on December 31st, the worst that we had in the entire year was actually still north of 100 billion.
Mm.
So the max drawdown that we had in terms of stable coins within the space was only about 20-ish%. Now, of course, a lot of the assets that you see in the open market, plummeted more than 90% from the peak of their prices. But fundamentally, the value that's inside our ecosystem today is way, way, way larger than what we've ever seen for any other year, calendar year of building inside on-chain worlds. So for us, I think that's kind of one of the things that makes us the most bullish. That
Because there's a lot of dry powder.
just not just dry powder, but I really still feel like blockchains are a bit like emerging countries. And like when you think about like how like countries grow or develop, well, the things that they lack is usually a lot of this financial infrastructure, right? Um, Especially because if you don't have assets inside the ecosystem and you need to convince people to fiat on ramp or off ramp to get in, right? There's a lot more barriers to entry to even be able to support native spending and native, economies, right? So just to give like a bit of like context, right? We often think about like I would say countries as like quote unquote poor or not poor,
Mm.
right? But like the let's say the 150th richest country in the world in terms of GDP is Montenegro with 4.8 billion in GDP,
Mm, mm,
right?
mm.
And so that's how much value gets created within one country every year. It's hard to create billions of value if you don't have billions of value to hold inside your country in the first place.
Mm.
And I think in some way, I see DeFi or on-chain worlds as something that kind of emerged onto the market from being a effectively non-existent country
Mm.
until last DeFi summer. And now today, if we look at DeFi Llama, right, even with some of this kind of worries around on-chain circulation of stablecoins and whatever, there's still 46.9 billion of assets that sit on on-chain worlds. Now, of course, that's a difference from that's not pure profit, right? That's not value that's created, but that at least is value that is being held inside DeFi as almost like a nation, right? And I think it's very rare to see, in real worlds, we've never seen a poor country become a powerful country within the span of a few years.
Mm.
But that's kind of where I see DeFi being on this very unique kind of trajectory in history, where in 46 billion, right?
Mm.
That you putting it near Lithuania, which is apparently around the same amount of GDP, but of course, still with the caveat of we're not making this much money per year as a country. This is just how much we maybe hold
Yep.
as in aggregate in our contracts.
Right.
But just to give you a sense of scale, right?
Mm, mm.
And so that's where obviously this BUSD news is important because it does impact how some people on or off ramp into crypto. But I think the bigger takeaway that I think we need to realize is that via all of these different stablecoins that we have out there in this space, there's a lot of different ways where people have been able to bring assets into this growing nation, and it's up to us to build more value of things within this
That's really
ecosystem
interesting.
to
Like
capture
yeah,
that value.
you like using kind of country analogy as kind of like seeing where we could be in terms of the growth. So maybe like we'll dive deeper into it. But we have a couple of people coming on. So I'm gonna approve all of you guys. And Will, I think I don't know if Will's still here. Will L, and then Jacob as well. If you guys want to come on, please feel free to do so.